Everyday witches emerge from the shadows of secrecy. Broom closets are flinging open and witches are taking flight. Whether you are hiding in your cozy closet or flying with pride, stay for a spell as Witchcasting with Theodora Pendragon and her guests share magical moments, stir the cauldron, and debunk misinformation and misconceptions about paganism, witches, and our wonderful world of magic.
Here we are for another episode of Witchcasting with Theodora Pendragon, and today my special guest is Supriya, and she is a business and life chakra alignment coach. Welcome, Supriya.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. Where would you like to start? Because you have an extensive background in the metaphysical world and developing your spiritual gifts. Tell us a little bit about yourself, beginning wherever you think it's most important.
Yeah, absolutely. So this whole thing, like with me, started when I was, so I can even go way back until like I was even 4 years old, right? That was when I had my first out-of-body experience.
Oh, tell us.
It's something I kind of vaguely remember, but I do remember being outside my body while I was sleeping for a little bit. I was outside my body and I was just floating on top of my room. And then this was just something that I thought everybody experienced. like I was 4 years old. I just thought like everybody did. So I just didn't think it was that big of a deal. So I just never really told anybody. I was just like, okay, everybody kind of does this, whatever. And then when I was like 8 years old, I kind of began seeing a figure that was around, how tall was he? Like 5'7", 5'8"? A male figure around 5'7", 5'8", following me around, just following me around. It was like I thought it was a shadow figure for a while. Like looked like a shadow figure. It kind of creeped me out for a little bit. I didn't think that was anything benevolent or anything. It was just like, it was just there.
All the time?
While I was at school, at least. It was always there while I was at school. So I think when I was around 10 years old, that was when my mom started getting dreams of her father. Started getting dreams and trying to connect. And by the way, my mom's father, my grandfather, died before I was born. He actually died a few days before my mom got married to my dad. Yeah, it was awful. And the entire time, my mom never smiled in any of your pictures. So I never knew my grandfather. So fast forward to when I was 10 years old, my mom, she kept getting dreams of her grandfather, and she didn't really know what it meant. She kept getting I remember her saying that she keeps it looks like he's trying to contact me in my dreams. So next thing we know, Crossing Over John Edward was on TV. My mom said that to my dad, we should go. My dad wasn't really supportive at the time. At the time, because my dad's a scientist. He's actually a medical physicist. So he just said that those things are fake, they're scams. What are you talking about? Basically, I think a week or two later, this psychic comes into my dad. So my dad's a medical physicist in a radiation oncology department at a hospital. And he's been doing that for 30 years now. There was a cancer patient at his department. She was going into remission, and when the treatment was done, her gift to everybody was a free reading. She gave my dad a reading, and the first thing that came out of her mouth was, I see this man. I don't know. He described who she was like, there's this man, and he says that he was trying to contact your wife, and he's kept coming to me, and he's kept coming to me. And there's a woman also over here, and she's older in age. She seems to be a mother figure. She says that she also is with you all the time and has been trying to contact you as well. little like my grandmother died 2 years before on my dad's side. She was saying like your wife, it looks like she's getting messages from her father, and like so like that was a day like my dad's mind was blown, and like she went into more detail. I actually can't remember what she said, but yeah, so she went into that whole detail, and then she gave her card and said, if you want to come and book a reading with me, you can book. And then what happened after that was they actually went, and that it was a day that my parents' lives were changed forever. Because in that place, not only they said that you have the gift to my mom, she said, you have the gift, but your kids have the gift as well. And you should work with them. And that's exactly what my parents did. They worked with me. They tried to work with my brother. My brother wasn't as receptive to it at the time, but I was into it. So I knew I had something. I had all these gifts, and I put all these words to it. And that's when I was just like, oh, the pieces started coming together. And I was just like, oh, wow. So this is actually happening. And started meditating, started doing all these exercises. My dad got every book on the planet, it seems, on how to open up your third eye. And then soon after, about a year or two after that, my parents both got their Reiki attunements and certifications. That's kind of how I started to learn about the chakras was then. I never actually got attuned formally in Reiki or got certified, but I do know a lot about the energy healing aspect of it. And I actually came up with my own energy ball healing. Oh yeah, and by the way, to rewind it back there, that grandfather was the person I learned that I was seeing when I was 8 years old. That's how I found out. He was around 5'8", and he was a figure, and I had no idea. And according to that psychic, she said that he's been around all my life. I always had like imaginary friends. I always, all the stuff that you hear people say, and it all happened. Like I had imaginary friends. I was talking to people that weren't there. I was always like that. So me being 12 years old, I was kind of able to put like a label to things, a name to things at that age. And then it kind of grew from there. When I was 14, 15, my parents went to this other psychic fair. The psychic actually read me and actually told me, you're good enough to work in my fair. Like at the time, I didn't have a job. I was actually trying to search for my first job because that's what teenagers do. They go to, wherever for their first job. My dad actually said, no, it's like your first job is not going to be working at a psychic fair. So I actually went to, I actually was a cashier at this local store. And then I was actually at the entertainment department in Six Flags. But so I actually didn't work at the psychic fair. However, so I kind of kept it down, was kind of put into the spiritual closet, I would say, for a while after that. And what happened was, I was put into the spiritual closet.
What do you mean I was put in? Did your parents put you in there?
Dad was just like, yeah, I don't know if I want you to be public about this sort of thing. I kind of want you to do like the normal thing. I don't want you to make this a career sort of thing. I don't want you to have this as a career, have this as a career aspiration and like all this. So yeah, so in that way, I was kind of like my gifts were kind of shoved to the side, and I was just like, okay, let me graduate high school. Let me like do all this. Let me go to college, did the 4-year degree and got myself a degree in business. And like a lot of that stuff was put to the side. I actually did do readings. I do remember like doing palm readings and stuff while I was in summer school. I just took some extra summer classes while I was in high school. So I was just trying to read palms, and whatever I read, I read some palms, and they were like on a girl. And I specifically remember this after I read this girl's palm, I actually wanted to go play basketball. So like I was going to get up and go. And next thing I knew, I had like 5 other girls like lined up, like wanting me to read their palms and everything. So
were you pretty accurate?
They were like, oh yeah, that happened. And I was just like, oh, like, Like, it was just one of those things. I was so taken aback by like what they were saying. I was just, and then next thing I knew, there was like 5 other people that like in a line that wanted me to read their palms. And I was just like, I didn't know this. Like, it was just one of those things. Like, I didn't intend to do this. So, yeah. So I was just like going here and there and like getting readings from other like people for a while. But yeah, it was something that I never really put out there until 2020. 2020 came along, and
What happened in 2020?
there was just a big shift I had inside of me really early 2020, like January. I was just like, yeah, I don't know if because when I started my business, it was originally a freelancing social media management business. And I noticed, and it was then when I noticed that there was just a lot of holistic healthcare practitioners, life coaches, a lot of yogis, a lot of spiritual teachers, like coming to me and all that stuff. And I was just like, it was not just that. I wanted to work with these guys too. So I was just like, okay, so I'm attracting a certain client. So that's when I started my business, now known as the Spirit Digital, and changed my name, changed my brand, everything.
What was the name of your?
Yeah, it's still the Spirit Digital, technically. That's still the LLC that I operate under. The Spirit Digital. And then at the time, I was still an agency. I was still a social media agency. I was just operating for just spiritual entrepreneurs. And then I was actually doing Ask Me Anything calls. And that was originally, and what is now known, that was my first parlay into coaching. It was really hourly coaching sessions with me.
When you say Ask Me Anything, people would call you and ask any question and you would answer.
Not like the Gary Vee, like sort of Ask Gary Vee sort of thing. I just had it as a service. I can go through your website or whatever. That's how it started. It actually wasn't a year later that I went to a trip to Tulum, Mexico, which is just outside of Cancun, Mexico, with some girlfriends. I literally laid on the beach over there. And by the way, I was doing some intuitive coaching back then. But it wasn't until like when I went to that trip to Tulum, I was meditating on the beach and I literally got the download to do business chakras over there. And I was just like, whoa. And I literally wrote everything that they said down. When I came back, I actually had an idea for a webinar planned out and I completely scratched it. I was just like, let's do this. Let's do business chakras. Let's explain it to everybody. And I got like 7 signups almost right away with almost 0 to no marketing on it.
How does business and life chakra alignment work? Because you said you attracted a certain type of people, spiritual entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
How did all of that happen?
Oh my gosh. So I always tell people like the law of attraction like works in many different ways. Like you attract who you are. So when I started attracting a certain type of entrepreneur, it was kind of like the universe telling me this is kind of where you needed to go. And of course, I was actually meeting people, was becoming friends with other like spiritual entrepreneurs, people who were manifestation coaches, law of attraction coaches, like all of those types of people. And I was just like, I probably should be this, but I don't know what I should be. So when business chakras came around, when I got that download, that's when I was just like, I think this is it. Business chakras is like, it's just a concept of everything who you are, and life chakras too, is what I call it. And you can also use it for your personal branding, relationship chakras is what I call it too. And what that is like, it's your energy. It's literally energy in your body. Chakras, for those of you who don't know, chakras, the origins of chakras go way back into the Vedic texts. The Vedic times around 500 to 700 BCE. And there are some people that said that it actually goes back a lot earlier than that. It's in the Vedic text and in the Upanishads. The Upanishads, which are what the yogis refer to when it comes to chakras, there are 115 plus chakras in the body. There's actually chakras in your hands too. You can actually rub them. When you rub them together, there's heat that comes off of it. And then there's like that force and that chi is what I know that some people call it. Like that's the activations of those chakras. There are a lot of those ancient drawings. And when you look at some of those ancient drawings, you will notice that there's the energy forces, the different energy lines, forces in your body. We also know as fascia in science, we know that as fascia, but in a lot of this Hindu, a lot of the scripture, ancient scripture, they called it Nadi, N-A-D-I, Nadi. It's fascia. And they determined that it lined up with 7 energy points. Now, originally, there were 5 energy points. These 2 chakras are here, the heart and the solar plexus, were combined. They were combined together originally. So it wasn't until like we got the West that that chakras were given a color, and B, that there were 7 chakras. And I believe a man named Christopher Hill with a book, and I forget the book's name. He actually came out with the book that talked about the chakras in detail, gave it the rainbow spectrum on it. He actually went into more detail about the chakras. Chakras don't really have much of a personality. They have what I like to call a more of a diagnose and prescribe sort of thing to them. So any like holistic practitioner, or I'm pretty sure they called it a practitioner back then, and I think nowadays we call it a holistic practitioner. Any practitioner back then would actually just diagnose and prescribe what could be wrong with your body based on the chakras. What I do is I take that concept of the diagnose and prescribe concept into the 7 chakras right here. So the root chakra represents your income, revenue streams, audience, offers for your business. In your life, it represents the same thing, your money, your income levels, what you're making, how much would you like to make, all that stuff is blocked. What does your money mindset look like? That's what it comes about. So sacral, going up, Savasana is all about the ego, divine feminine, divine masculine energies, creatrix energy, creative energy, inspiration. In your business, it's all about like where you driving your, not just your offers, but your creativity and your inspiration. And the same thing goes with life too. Where are you driving? Where are you finding your creativity from? And for a lot of women, that sacral represents your womb. And of course, if it's blocked, and it's really blocked, a lot of people will say that it will develop into something else. There's actually, I do chakra readings too. So I've actually talked to a woman who I saw that her sacral was blocked, and she actually said that she had a lot of hormonal issues in that area. So a lot of hormonal imbalances. That's where that also comes up. Solar plexus, Manipura energy, that's really confidence. That's confidence. That's self-confidence. In business, that's pricing and sales. In your life, that is where do you find your self-esteem and self-worthiness? This also goes back to things like imposter syndrome. And that goes with both anybody that doesn't have a business either. Imposter syndrome, people who starting a new job face imposter syndrome too. And anybody that has like a business or even if they newly begun their business, they'll often face imposter syndrome. So it's all about that confidence. Your heart chakra is all about how well your self-worthiness, your self-compassion, how well you fill your cup versus others. Again, life and business goes both ways here. It's not really how much you love your partner, because a lot of people, they give to their partners in their lives. They give a lot to their clients, their, work, a whole lot. But how much are you filling up your own cup, and how much are you giving away? And more often than not, that chakra, from what I see, is the most open. And remember, a imbalance is too much or too little of something. So when it's too much of something, it's like, if there's too much of something, like there's obviously still an imbalance. So this one is like too open. So which means boundaries. Boundaries as an empath is so important. So holding those boundaries, whether it's your business, looking at your contract of your business, and looking at your relationships in your life, like tell them to stop calling after, or just block people on your phone, or just don't answer the phone after, 5 o'clock, whatever, all the time. Throat chakra is communication, right? Vishuddha is communication. And of course, in your business, that's marketing and branding. And in your life, that's all about, where's your voice not being heard in your life? So if that's blocked, your voice is not being heard. And in your business, is your voice out there? Is your brand messaging out there? And all of that stuff. So you kind of have to look at where your branding and your marketing is in your business, but in your life, look at where you aren't able to speak up in your life. So that, and communicate in whatever way that you can. Because if you're not doing that, then there's a really good chance that chakra is going to be blocked. And that's also a one that I see the most closed, by the way, too. Whether it's personal or business, too. So when we go to the Ahana chakra is the third eye. The third eye chakra is all about your intuition. How well are you able to project in your business? How well are you able to see and know accurately if they're a good fit to work with or not? Whether it's on a call, whether it's through email, whether it's through something else. And in your life, how well do you know, like how well are you able to see things? And these two chakras, and I don't think you can see them right here, but these two chakras, the Ahana and the crown, the Sahasrara, those two are like the most spiritual or the most woo-woo about everything. So those two really deal with source and spirit. And in your business, crown actually represents your alignment to your mission. And that's actually, how aligned are you in life too? How aligned are you with who you are in life? So figuring out who you are and how connected you are to source, and how well you how well you want to be connected to source. That's what that's all about. And then the crown, actually what I see in most spiritual and entrepreneurial people, their third eye is open, but then their crown is blocked. Which means, or it's the other way around, the crown is open, but their third eye is blocked, which means that they're receiving messages in spirit, but they're not trusting it. So when they don't trust their intuition, and trusting intuition is so hard. I mean, even I, 22, I don't know, however many years in this metaphysical world I've been in already, but it's many, many years, I still have issues sometimes trusting in spirit and in all that. So I get it because it's hard to know and trust yourself at times, but you have to kind of just trust your intuition. You just kind of have to just start doing it. There's like a million tests you can do to strengthen the intuition. So trusting in your third eye is so important for your business and in life too, because what happens when you go down a road, or what happens when you go, like a lot of us have that instinct, right? How you go down a road and you have a bad feeling about it, so you just turn right or turn, left or whatever. A lot of us have it. A lot of us do have it, but it's just leaning into it and trusting it a lot more. Then you kind of you open the chakras one by one, and it's all about practice and doing the meditations for each chakra, really writing everything down into a journal every day.
Well, you just gave us a crash course on business chakra alignment.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. And that is pretty much what the definitions are, and like how you can actually see what's kind of wrong. And of course you can go through each chakra, place your hand, use the chants, the seed chakra chants.
Give us an example of the root chakra. Let's just say someone is not earning their full potential.
Okay.
Or they're not charging enough for their services or their products.
Okay.
What can you do for this person?
Okay, so if they're not charging enough for their products, and they're not those are lower chakra issues. So What I could do is I would work on their money mindset, because there's a clear lack mentality, scarcity, thinking that they can't earn enough, not earn enough, but like thinking that they can't reach a certain level. So when there's something like that happening, I was like, okay, let's work on money mentality. Let's work on not manifesting. Well, yes, manifesting too, because that's what we do after. We have to clear out whatever is going on inside. So whatever's thinking that. So that's actually when I go in deep, because a lot of things that people don't really talk about is clearing before manifestation. Because when you clear before manifestation, that is actually when, and I'm not saying that people can't manifest people can't manifest if they don't clear and all that stuff. It's obvious that people can. But there's a reason why that you're not reaching a certain level in your business, or why you're not manifesting what you want. Because that's another thing I also see. People saying, oh, I can't reach my $5,000 months, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, whatever, however many months they want to receive, 10,000. And it's usually because there's a lot of clearing that they would need to do with their inner child. And that inner child and that money story. So what do we need to do around that? And that is what I target first before we do anything else. Before we do anything else around the business in itself, or if they're doing life and like, I can't get a job above a certain pay point, salary, I need to make like this many months to be able to afford this, this, and this. There is a certain mentality around that. And it actually happens at every stage it actually happens at every stage. You guys don't, a lot of people, because I didn't realize this, and I'm sure a lot of other people don't realize this. A lot of the big business owners that you see, they still have money mindset blocks when they're millionaires, like 7-figure earners. They will still have money mindset blocks. I mean, there's a girl that I follow. She earns I think she had her first 8-figure. And when she hit her first 7 figures, she said, things that I learned when I hit my first 7 figures, you still have to work on your money mindset when you hit those numbers. So it does happen at every stage in your business. And this is stuff I hear on I hear of it all the time. You have to work on it at every stage. And the more you work on it, the earlier in your business, really the better off you'll be, because then the consistency will be there. The consistency will be there, and of course you'll know. And of course we're not all perfect. We're not all of us are perfect, but it does happen. It does happen. So money mindset first, and then after that we go into their inner child, then money mindset, and then doing all those affirmations. And then simultaneously start looking at the offers. If they have a business, look at the offers, look at what they are doing with those offers and what their audience look like, because that's the base of all of that. So I would also see if they're collaborating with anybody. Collaboration, that's actually the key. That's the key solution to the savasana, sacral chakra, which that's below the navel womb energy. So when it's blocked, a lot of people would feel maybe competitive. And that's also goes right along with lack mentality, thinking that there's not enough for everybody. Collaborate. You have to do the opposite of what it does. So collaborate. Collaborating, seeing what you can do with somebody else, what kind of lives you do. Do you want to throw an event with somebody? Things like that. Start also finding inspiration in anything that you want. I actually like to find inspiration in nature. A lot of spiritual people love to. I know that love to go into nature and things like that. Start earthing, put your bare feet on the ground, stuff like that. Like going into your body. Start doing breath work, things like that. That goes into your sacral as well. Doing breath work, breathing in and out. To calm that stress down. And then with the Manipura is kind of the same thing with like the root as far as I am affirmations and things like that. But because building confidence, that like it really takes a lot of time. Somebody has like an issue with a sales call or something like that. Going through like a call like this, one-on-one, face-to-face, and going through like a mock sales call or a mock discovery call or a mock, all that call, so they can appear, so they can get confidence, so they can get all of that stuff like coming into and having it set into their brain. But that's specifically for sales and all that stuff. But for an interview, mock interviews, things like that, just saying like I am affirmations, having a hype team around you and being your own hype team is what I always say. Making sure you have people around you that are supportive and making sure you have you have to be able to support you and love you and say like, I can and I am and I will for anything. Just have like a hype team around you. And this is like also a good place to see if there are actually people supporting you or they're rooting against you. Because more often than not, I have seen, even with my readings and even with my one-on-one clients, there are people that do get revealed that people aren't actually supporting them. It is way more common than you think. And it's often with the people that are in your close circle too. It does get revealed that like somebody is like rooting against them. So you kind of have to figure out like who that person is. It might take a while. It might take a year or two to figure that stuff out. But like, and that's why you do those meditations. That's why you go within. That's why you kind of have to pay close attention to what people are saying. People do tell on themselves. And that's also something you kind of learn. People will tell on themselves quite a bit when they talk to you and say like, oh, that's nice that you're doing that. As somebody else told me recently, gosh, what? I don't know, Supriya. I don't know why you're actually. Why are you posting on social media like so often? Why are you doing that? And I'm like, it's like, I don't know. If I were you, I don't see the point. Somebody actually told me, it's like, I don't see the point in actually. And I was just like, it's brand awareness. And it's not just brand awareness. Like, it's like, well, you're not an influencer, so you don't need to be posting on social media. Stuff like that. And of course, they would hide it and say like something like, oh, like I just think you should be doing like something else. If it's not making you money, then why are you doing it? Like sort of something like that. And then saying like why are you just even posting on social media anyways? Like a snide remark like that is stuff you have to start paying attention to.
Would you say that's envy?
I would say that's envy. That is envy. That is, I guess envy and jealousy are the same thing. Envy, jealousy, it's negative, is what I would like to call it. Negative. A positive person would come and say, how did you do that? I would like to learn how to do that. Or how did you do that? That's so interesting. That's so like cool. I like that you're doing that. I like that you're doing that. Or even better, hey, how can I support you? Is what a friend would do. How can I support you? And here's the thing. Friends don't have to buy your stuff. They can support you. They can follow you. They can share a link. They can share an email. There's a ton of stuff that your friends can do for free. Unless you explain that to them, I feel like they probably, and even if you after you explain it to them and they still don't do it, that's another thing in general, because I've had that too, where people say what they would do stuff and they would say stuff and they would never do. And some of these had their own, a girl had her own business too. She had her own business and like said that she would, and I would share her stuff and she also never shared mine. She consistently saw all of my stuff and never shared my stuff at all. Like she would constantly say that. I was just like, okay, but you have to watch out for those people.
You just have to store that in your little file cabinet and always remember that, because you need to surround yourself with people who are supportive, your cheerleaders.
Yes. Absolutely. You have to have cheerleaders with you. And of course, I don't mean people who will kiss your, I don't know if I'm allowed to say ass on this call, but kiss your ass.
Kiss your ass.
Yeah. I'm not saying like you should have people that always kiss your ass. I'm always yes people in your life. No, you should always have people that can say what they think, but there's a way to say what you think and not intentionally hurt somebody's feelings, or not hurt feelings, or not like be rude or about it. I'm talking about the people that are doing it and meaning what they're saying and not really saying anything back to say like, I didn't mean it like that. Hey, don't take this personally, or like, oh, hey, like I actually really like your stuff. I'm not talking about like people like who would that. I'm talking about the people like who will say like snide remarks, an underlying tone, people like that. You don't need that. You really don't need that in your group. And you know what? I always tell people, hey, if you don't have anybody supporting you, I support you. I support you. Like, don't worry. I'm cheering you on. I'm rooting for you. Seriously. Like, because I know what a lonely journey entrepreneurship can be. I know a lonely journey. And here's the thing in life, if you're trying to level up in anything in life, it's always going to get lonely. It's always going to get lonely, and it's going to get lonely. Like, especially, I've also experienced this myself on my end too. I have, when I got attuned officially in Reiki in last November, I had this moment where I was just like, oh my gosh, like everything is like tearing down and building itself back up, like all around me at the same time. And I was just like, what is everybody doing? Where is everybody? How, I'm just like living, like I'm just alone here. And I feel like that's you kind of know who your friends are at that point. You kind of know who you want to be around at that point, and you really want to know who you can trust at that point. And I knew who I could trust. I knew who I could, at that point. So in life too. So when you raise your vibration, or when you intend to raise your vibration, or when you intend to do like all this stuff, a lot of this stuff can come up around you, and it can get very lonely.
But it doesn't take a huge tribe to support you.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's only just a few close people. It doesn't have to be an auditorium.
Oh yeah, 3. You could have 3 people. Absolutely, 3 people around you. That can be all. That can be all it takes. To have that can be all it takes. Even if you have like one really good person around you is always going to be your cheerleader. That's all it takes. That is all it takes. And that's all you have. That's all it takes to know that you can just call them to have that pep talk before you do a speaking engagement, or, before you go and, before you do that work presentation or whatever, if you can call that person. So
this is all so good. I love it.
Sorry, I do run on, but yeah.
Supriya, this has been very informative. And I think the best part is your advice at the end about finding the people who support you and eliminate those people who do not support you, the envious people, the naysayers.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Just at a certain point, you don't have time for it. It's one of those things. I'm like, do you have time for this? And do you have time for this? And will this reach your goals in life? And if the answer is no, then it's time to do something really hard or really easy, depending on who it is. But yeah.
And it really can be that simple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, Supriya, for joining me as my guest. This has been wonderful.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
And you really simplified the chakras. You explained it very clearly.
Oh, and it's called chakras. So it's chakras as in Chuck Norris. Chakras. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us for Witchcasting with Theodora Pendragon. Have a burning question or have a topic you'd love Theodora and her guests to discuss on the show? Contact her through Instagram at Theodora Pendragon. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And help us spread the word by leaving us a rating and review and sharing it with your friends. See you next time, and may your magic always shine.